Designing, growing, and maintaining a garden. Our generative topic is designing, growing, and maintaining a garden. Through this project, we unite the subject areas of biology, math, and the humanities to have 9th and 10th grade biology students build a community garden. In the process, students will learn not only content knowledge, but also the ability to make decisions that balance the needs of the community with individual needs and various spatial, environmental, temporal, and monetary constraints, which necessitates a way of thinking that will be transferable to other contexts.
This topic is generative because it connects ideas across subjects. Students will learn biology in this topic because they may consider the process of photosynthesis and cellular respiration. They may figure out how to describe the ecosystem, food chain, and energy levels in the garden. This topic is also related to problems in humanities such as how to motivate teammates to participate, why it is important to help others in the garden. Math is another subject that this topic will connect. Students will try to understand how many plants can fit in one space. They will also learn about measurement skills and budget calculation. Inquiry questions may arise when gardening is introduced in the class. Students may ask what kind of plants should grow in the garden and why. Who in the community will benefit from the garden? Where should we put the garden and why? Resolving these inquiries mentioned above may lead to next inquiries, such as should we use fertilizer or not? How to identify the needs of the community or individuals within the community? What are the space constraints?
Our topic focuses on the understanding goal that students will be able to balance individual needs, community needs, and various constraints in the process of decision making. In the realm of biology, students will consider the needs and interactions of various plants and animals in the climate in the process of determining which plants to include in their garden. Regarding humanities, students will also come to understand the decision-making processes behind community policies and facilities. Students will also learn mathematics concepts such as understanding that changes in variables result in changes in outcomes and how to optimize choices within constraints in order to achieve set goals. Decision-making and the ability to consider options and variables is necessary for all parts of life and work, not just gardening. The skills and knowledge that students obtain through this project are transferable. Students can apply the ability to balance various needs in a variety of situations, whether it be at home, with family, in other courses, or in their work. This project will also foster leadership skills. To be a successful leader, one must be able to make educated decisions. Students will conduct research and in-person interviews with various community members to investigate community needs, similar projects in communities, and city limitations. They will synthesize the data they've gathered to generate ideas for the garden. Our first performance of understanding is an introductory performance in which students will participate in a mock town hall. Students will conduct research and in-person interviews with various community members to investigate community needs, similar projects in communities, and city limitations. They will synthesize the data they've gathered to generate ideas for the garden. Students will then assume the roles and perspectives of various community stakeholders and advocate for themselves in a mock town hall setting. Through this performance, students will gain an appreciation for individual and community needs and restrictions and how these impact decision-making. The mock town hall will introduce to students the concept of a garden as a complex equation involving balance of time, resources, and needs. Students may find certain parts of this performance more challenging. We have identified 3 challenge areas and the support that a teacher may provide for each area. First, students may struggle to find similar communities to base their research on. The teacher will support them by providing 1 or 2 example communities to begin with. Second, students may not be practiced in obtaining meaning from the data they've gathered in their research and investigation. A teacher may support students by providing a lesson on identifying useful data, accounting for bias in surveys, and other useful statistical methods. Lastly, students may need support in interactions with community members. A teacher can guide students to create effective meeting agendas with specific requests so that students are more prepared when entering meetings.
Students will create a visual representation of their planned garden, including plans for supplies and budget, design and location, goals for the garden. The most important task of the representation is to define how decisions about the garden meet individual and community needs and space, time, financial constraints. One challenge we anticipate students may have is coming to a consensus among group members. To support this, the teacher may provide a team-building activity prior to the guided inquiry performance. Another challenge we foresee is building a strong defense of their design. To support students in this challenge, the teacher can guide students through lessons on argumentation and making claims based on evidence.
Our ongoing assessment is in the form of a rubric, and it's the criteria for the ability to advocate for oneself, the community, and the community's ideas. So this rubric acts as a clear model to help learners gauge their understanding of advocating for oneself, their community, and their ideas. And advocacy is a really essential skill that must be learned in order to succeed in this particular lesson. Just like any ongoing assessment created, there are some pros and some cons. And so for our particular ongoing assessment, the pros are that it helps students to understand how to become convincing members of a community. It motivates understanding ideas from different perspectives, so really it promotes empathetic learning. It allows room for creativity in how the argument is presented. And some of the cons are that it doesn't emphasize the way the argument is presented, and it might be difficult for some students who are not as comfortable with public speaking as others are.
One key idea that students will reflect on is the role that community plays in decision-making processes about the garden. To reflect on their experience and generate deeper understandings, we will ask students to reflect on what-if questions that require students to engage their imagination and apply what they learned in different contexts. For example, we might ask students, how would your garden look different if we lived in a rural community? How would you build a garden if you didn't have the support of your community? How would you change your design if a member of the community suddenly cut your budget in half? Students will also engage in meaningful reflection during a start, stop, continue activity. By discussing in a collaborative, safe space what students thought did not work well, what did work well, and what they wish to do during future projects, students will gain a deeper understanding of how the community impacted their decision-making process when designing the garden. This reflection activity will develop learning understandings by providing students with an opportunity to learn from their peers, in addition to the community members who they spoke with. This format of discussion promotes idea sharing and iterating on ideas by focusing on specific elements of their decision-making and design project that were or were not successful, allowing students to grow these skills and apply them in new situations.
Web 2.0 tools are designed for people of all ages and abilities. They promote interaction, communication, collaboration, but most importantly, they encourage becoming a creator of knowledge. So it's really important about the tools that we've chosen in regards to technology for our project are that they are both widely accessible, and the Poplet template helps to organize ideas. It gives students a chance to display their argument in a visual context. It's creative, and it allows them to have a visual map if they're prone to visual learning. And SurveyMonkey is a great website that helps students to collaborate and share their data and analyze and come up with conclusions and draw on specific arguments that they would like to make.